Do they work? Are they mine? Oh, I'll borrow them. Let's see, Mary's prepared. Mary's my backup.
Are we ready?
Thank you, Mary.
See if they work. See if they work first.
I work together with our... Perfect.
Good.
You don't need them, right?
No,
Thank
I
you.
don't. How you doing, Clay? Good. Hello, Mrs. Clay. How are you? Hello, everyone, and welcome to the City of Millville work session for March 19, 2019 at 5:30 p.m. I call this meeting to order. Roll call.
Mayor Santiago.
Here.
Commissioner Pepitone.
Here.
Vice Mayor Parent. Here. Commissioner Udalvis.
Here.
Commissioner Cooper.
We all stand, salute the flag, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated.
Mayor. Use the mic. The mic.
This meeting is being conducted in accordance with the Open Public Meeting Act of 1975, was advertised, posted, and made available to the public as required by statute. The municipal clerk is directed to include a statement in the minutes of this meeting. Madam Clerk, are there any review changes to the agenda?
No, Mayor.
Presentations. Our first presentation will be body-worn cameras. I guess I'll turn this over to Commissioner Pepitone.
Yes, and what I'm going to do is turn it over to Police Chief Farabelli. You want to give him an introduction? Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon, everybody. Like I said, my name is Chief Farabella. I have asked Rudy View, as Chief of Violent PD, to talk about body-worn cameras. Obviously, with the LPRs, we've chosen Vigilant. Vigilant also sells body-worn cameras. And I asked Chief View if he would just talk on behalf of what his experiences are with the City of Violent, how they work, what it's done for him as far as transparency, liability, and everything that goes along with body-worn cameras. So he's agreed to do that. We thank him for coming. And then after that, I'm going to have Vigilant give a little speech and talk about what the body-worn cameras do and what they are. So thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Guess I'm in again. He butchered my name, too.
I wasn't going to say anything, Rudy, but you said
I seen you give him the look. Chief Rudy View from the City of Violent Police Department. I'm glad to be here tonight to speak with you a little bit about this. I'm not here to sell any particular system or anything to you. I could just tell you like the benefits from the City of Violent, having them, what's happened in our agency since we went to them, and how it's been working out for us. In 2015, we went to body-worn cameras. We kind of rushed into it a little bit in the beginning. We went with I won't name the company, but it was not Vigilant. We went with a cheaper company, and it was what we could afford at the time, and it didn't work out for us. We had a lot of problems with it. One of the main problems we have is that whatever system you're looking at, I would highly recommend that you get a system that has cloud storage. If you start relying on your memory storage in-house, you're going to buy terabyte after terabyte after terabyte, and it's never going to be enough. When New Jersey's evidence retention laws, you have to retain these videos so long, and it's videos everybody knows uses up your memory, and you'll be out of your memory in a short period of time. You'll see your system starting to chog down, and then the officers won't be able to upload their videos, and then you'll have all the issues. That was a problem that we had with the system that we first went with in 2015. We were fortunate in that we had used grant money to buy that system. I mean, I know it wasn't taxpayer money for, say, City of Violent taxpayer money, but that system now basically sits on itself. We had to dump it. We ended up going with a company, not Vigilant, but we went with a company called Axon, very similar to Vigilant. They both do cloud storage, and it's been fantastic for us. I have to honestly say it's been one of the best purchases I can say that we've made for the City of Violent Police Department. Whatever system that you get, especially with the new systems nowadays, they have longer battery life, they're shock-proof, they're waterproof, they have a better, wider field of view, they film in day, they film in night, they work when they get wet, they have 80% faster download time because you're using the cloud, and they're easier to redact because you're going to get a lot of OPA requests. And one thing I have to caution you about when you do move to body cameras is that that's another set of records that you are maintaining, so you are going to get OPA requests for those cameras. City of Violent did have to employ a couple civilian employees in addition to dedicating a couple full-time police officers that do nothing but redaction and downloading and video requests for both OPRA and court purposes. So it does take a little bit of time. It is a lot easier to do with the new system that we have now, but because of we have 150 officers in our agency, so we have a lot of cameras running, so it is going to take some time with people to get your evidence requests together. Great thing about this, certain things I could tell you about the body cameras, public trust in the community. It builds it because you increase your transparency and accountability. We've extremely strong public support. People are crying that they want body cameras. I know Millville has the in-dash cameras now, and that kind of limits you. That's what we had too at one point in time. It kind of limits you to what your field of view is. If the officer gets away, goes into a residence, you've lost your camera footage. You only have the access of what is invisible from that car angle. So a lot of stuff happens in a building, in a car, in a park where the car's not parked a certain direction. You're going to miss everything. With the body camera, you eliminate that. Caution you too, it doesn't see everything. It's got a wide field of view, and it gives you what the officer's looking at. It doesn't show you who's coming at the officer from the side, from behind, but it does give you a pretty good view. Like I said, accountability holds officers accountable for their appropriate and their inappropriate actions. Makes sure that we have our officers on good conduct. Provides video evidence that helps prove or disprove police misconduct allegations. I can tell you that our internal affairs has experienced less allegations against police officers for fabricated type things against an officer because people know that the cameras are running and it's easy to disprove or prove the allegations. It's an excellent training tool for your officers when they're on the road. We constantly review our in-house camera footage of the officers. We look at their body camera footage and we see, did an officer do something wrong tactfully? Did he do something that was good? Is there something that we can improve on? It's a skill enhancement tool for the officers, and we use them constantly for training. The best thing that they're for, that I could tell you, is that video evidence. When you have, it provides an objective view of what the officer saw. It doesn't take sides. It doesn't tell a story. It's not like if you go to court and they have to give weight on testimony one way or the other. The body camera video speaks for itself, and that's been our best asset that we've had. We've had some high-profile incidents of violence recently, and we thank God that we had body camera footage to protect our officers. So it's been very, very positive for us, and I can't say enough good things about it. I know that we were at a meeting with the Attorney General last month, and unfortunately, Millville was the only agency in attendance at that meeting that did not have body camera footage. So it was pointed out there, much to, I can tell you that Jody probably did the smart thing in sitting back and waiting a little bit because we jumped into it. And did we want to be first? Maybe, but we jumped into it and we didn't proceed the best way. We should have maybe took baby steps in the beginning, and we learned from that. We spent a few extra dollars that maybe we shouldn't have. But he's got the advantage now of seeing that everybody else that ventured into it in the beginning and made the mistakes or went with companies that have come and gone that aren't even here now. And basically what's left now is the big players, companies like Vigilant, Axon, that provide a quality product. So if anything, he's probably be commended for waiting a little bit because he's probably made the smart move now. Any questions for Violent?
Yes, actually.
Yes.
First of all, thank you, Rudy. I really appreciate you
thank
coming
you.
and taking the
I'm
time.
glad to be here.
It's good to see an old classmate up here from Vineland. The point that I wanted to ask was the fact that we know that there's going to be an increase in cost through OPRA requests, et cetera. Does the savings based on potential lawsuits that could have arisen out of questionable behavior offset that?
Substantially.
That's a good thing to
And
hear.
I think it's very difficult to even put a cost factor on public trust. The public, I mean, we all see it nowadays. Police are coming under more and more scrutiny for the conduct. And when you don't have body camera footage, and again, you're not going to capture everything. I don't want to come up here and tell you people that everything that your officers do is going to be captured on body camera because it doesn't capture everything. But it sure is a big help. It's a fantastic product. And I can't even put a cost factor
That's
on
key.
that. But yeah, our litigation costs have decreased the cost of it. We also get some, I don't know if we still get it or not. I don't know if you're in the JIF here or not.
Yes.
If you are in the JIF here,
Yes.
you might look into something with that. They push it as well.
Oh, wow.
So I know that they're heavy into it as well. But whether there's a cost savings on your premium or not, I can't speak for that.
Even if there's not a cost savings on the premium, you have to remember when JIF settles a case, we have to pay too. It's not just that it's all covered by the insurance
Right.
and maybe a premium's going to go up. It's like we have to pay a substantial percentage of any case is settled. So if they're cutting down on the lawsuits and the money that's
We
paid,
pay more at the police, too.
Police cases are 50,000 deductible.
Wow.
yeah.
Up to 200,000
Right, so
hot-
it's
yeah,
a lot
they're
of
higher.
money.
Chief, I want this commission to understand something, that Vineland has been in the limelight in some very, very serious situations.
That is
And I
correct.
believe that
Unfortunately.
unfortunately, but it happens in that atmosphere that you're in and Jody is in and our men and women of the police department. But it really came out to your benefit to have those cameras, am I right?
I cannot thank them enough. I mean, officers buy into it. The officers love the cameras. In the beginning, when we first went to them, they were a little leery of it, you know, with the big brother type thing or whatever. The officers have bought into this hook, line, and sinker. They love it. The public loves it. And without going into particulars, because these cases are still in litigation,
Right.
some of them haven't even gone to criminal court yet. But some of the cases that we've had recently, high profile, that you've got people protesting with a different account. We are anxious to release the body camera footage of these high profile incidents because they basically tell the story of what actually occurred. And sometimes, unfortunately, people exaggerate or fabricate something for media attention. And then when your our most recent case that we had, when we released the body camera footage, everything stopped. The protesters went away because it didn't match the story that was being told. It matched what really happened. And that's what it tells. It tells an unbiased opinion of what happened.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for the chief?
Once again, Rudy, thank you so much for taking the
Thank
time.
you, chief.
Yeah.
Coming down.
Appreciate it.
And now I'd like to introduce Scotty. He's from Vigilant. He's going to talk a little bit about the product.
Yeah, hi there. So you hear I've got a bit of a different accent, so I'm from across the pond. But yeah, my name's Scott Armstrong. I work as a sales engineer for Vigilant. So basically, I don't have any experience on the policing side, so I want them to talk to that, but I can do the technology side. So anything kind of questions you have in terms of technology, but what I'll do is kind of I'm going to be on that screen just behind you, hopefully in a second, once it reappears. All going well.
What was your name again, sir?
Should we dim the lights?
Your name again, sir?
Oh, mine's
Scott
Scott
Armstrong. Okay, thank you.
Scott Armstrong.
Thank you. And I'll dim the lights.
I think that screen might have gone into standby mode. I don't know if there's an on or off for it.
It's on.
It is on,
It's on, mate. It's on. Yeah, it's on.
because it was.
And Mayor, while this is going, I wanted to touch more thing. I would thank Rudy very much for giving his insight of what's going on in Vinyl, but you didn't even talk about like things with, obviously, all the stuff with use of force going on right now. And is that really going to show a picture when the officer, why it was justified, why he used it? And another big thing is it's officer safety is what I'm really worrying about. Because obviously when you're dealing with somebody on the street and they know they're being videoed, they're going to act a little different. And I think it's going to help us in our injuries as well.
Great point, chief, on the use of force.
Yeah. Yeah, apologies. So I think the TV might just,
To turn it off and
because
on?
I think it had a red standby light on previously, but sorry to be.
Is there a power off? Can you turn off and on?
I don't know if there's a remote. Having enlisting the technical helper.
As you can see, we
Hey, yay.
know what we're doing up here.
There you go. We got it.
There we go.
Thanks, Bruce.
Hopefully that will come to
Check,
life.
Bruce.
Yeah, there we go. So fabulous. So to talk about body-worn cameras in general, so obviously the chief there was telling you about them from a policing use, and then so to give you a bit of background on our company, Vigilant Solutions, they weren't actually originally in the body-worn camera market, so they only entered it within the last year. They acquired a company called Adesix, and we're a Scottish company. We have over 30,000 cameras deployed globally. To drop some names, we've not been playing in the American market because Americans like to buy American. I mean, it's just a fact. So we were playing the rest of the world. So we have Police Scotland, upwards of 10 police forces in the UK. Every single prison and Criminal Justice Institute within the UK as well. We have Abu Dhabi Police, we have Dubai Police, we have South Australia Police. So we were kind of a global entity before that. And yeah, we were founded in 2002. So we've been at it a really long time, kind of before body-worn cameras were a commercial product. And then with that, as I mentioned, we've been able to survive, which a lot of other companies in the market have not been able to do so. So we base ourselves, to us, the camera is a commodity, as the chief said. The cameras, if you look at everyone within the marketplace, they're all, a variant of this. We all have a camera that you're wearing. The differentiator is the software and the training. So it's how you get your guys using the camera and engaging with it. I'm confident Millville will be able to action that themselves. And so what we can provide them with is the software on the back end. So just to give you a really quick overview, it's a very simple system to use. It's tiered access. So you can see I'm logged in as Scott. So each officer would have his own user, and he'd have access to just his own video. And again, this all comes down to policy that Millville are going to develop. But again, we're there to work with them and give them best practices that we've seen work around everywhere else. But a very simple system where you have access to your videos. We have incidents, which the video you're going to do evidence processing on. So every single video captured will not be retained indefinitely. It will be retained under a given policy, depending on what that video has been captured, and under a correct retention under Jersey state law. Then each video, so just to play you back a video that we have within the system, so just so you can see one. Not very exciting, a lot of conference rooms. We'll use that one because I'm walking down the street. I live up in Jersey City just now, so I'm not too far away. So this is just me walking down the street in Jersey City. So you get an idea of the footage. So it's a very high quality, high detail footage. It's a 140 degree wide angle lens. Again, it's blowing in the wind, so you're not getting the nicest audio. So I'm just going to mute that for you, just to spare your ears. But you get the idea. And then I would play a video that's got some conversation as well. But pretty clear camera footage. That's what we're going to be getting. And really, it's down to the officer training. And then everything that while this video is captured, while it's stored on the camera, it's all encrypted. So if anyone gains access to your cameras, stolen, lost, anything like that, the only way they can have access to our footage is if they have an install of our software with a unique encryption key. And then, as mentioned as well, it's going to be hosted on the cloud. So to show you that anyone who's kind of IT interested and IT literate and interested enough to care, basically, cameras will attach into a docking station. The docking station will upload the footage to through a little box, which is manufactured by us as well. It's basically a smart switch, so attaches to the internet, knows where home is, uploads the footage over SSL, which is a secure internet encryption protocol, into the server. The server is then accessed from wherever you want to have access from, and each user, as I said before, will have a unique login to the system, and it's two-factor authentication as well. So again, no one's going to force entry. But really, I'm coming to this today. I wondered what you'd like to know. So that's kind of the brief 2 minutes, because that's all you guys need to know. It's going to capture video. It's all encrypted, CGIS compliant, government storage. That video is then going to be available for Millville to use as they need it.
That's great. Give the lights on? Yeah. I like it dark in here, honestly. Joe, what do you think?
But yeah, I wonder if you have any questions on, say, the capabilities of the cameras, capabilities of the software. I'd love to answer them.
What is the life expectancy of a camera?
So with the model that we're going with you guys, what we're doing is we're doing a 4-year contract. It'll be a 2-year. At the 2-year point, we'll do a full hardware refresh. So we have cameras out there that are older than 4 years, but the model we're looking at with you guys will be a hardware refresh at the 25th month with no additional cost.
And that is included in
That is.
So Millville's on a 12-hour shift. How about battery life?
14 hours continuous recording from the camera and a 72-hour standby time. So it would be able to record that entire shift should they want to use the pre-record function. Again, all configurability and things. Pre-record function is essentially the camera's constantly recording but not storing that footage until you activate the button. So you get the idea for surprise situation. You're walking out of a 7-Eleven and something happens straight as you walk out. You have to run and chase him, but you want to store that X amount of time footage. You start that recording and it will store that. Again, all things that are policy decisions to be made internally. It's a feature we have available. Should they use it, that's again up to Millville.
I can remember meeting with Chief Arabella more than a year ago. My voice is a little bit
No problem.
harsh.
Can you hear you fine?
I'll talk to you about it later. Anyway, the Chief's 5-year plan was looking at body cameras. And I can remember talking to him about that. And he said, let's look what Vineland's doing. Let them solve the problems, and then we'll come back maybe. But
Good way of
that
doing
is
it.
one of the things.
That's it.
It was about a
They've
year
done the
and a half
learning,
ago.
and then we can help come and apply that.
Yeah.
How are the servers set up?
How are the servers set up? So we're going to leverage either AWS GovCloud or Azure, which is the Microsoft equivalent. Again, we can do both. It's whatever the preference is here in-house, and it's a CGIS compliant cloud. So we rely on them to do the CGIS compliance element for us, and again, that's what you'll find every single person in the market does, because it's impossible for anyone but the likes of Amazon or Azure, Microsoft to have a scalable solution for that. So we leverage AWS or Azure cloud storage, and then when you install our software, it hosts itself as a web server. So they give you basically a machine within their servers, basically they're wherever they are, and they're going to be on US property, and the backup as well will be on, if you have East Coast storage, then we'll have a backup on the West Coast, basically redundancy there. But once you install our server, it's essentially just a wizard install for the software, and then it hosts itself as a web server from there to be made available. And then with that, we basically, when we set it up, so to give them access, they're on a VPN, so a virtual private network. So the storage access, if you like, is going up over the internet, but it's using a VPN, which is an encrypted link between the two pieces. So again, all footage that is being accessed or pulled down is encrypted in transit and at rest.
So how's it download? Do they have to come into the station?
Yeah,
and
so
place it
the
into-
officers using them, I have a little tray of them there. But for the officers using them, the way we're going to deploy it is we have, I think, a system called RFID card assignment. So basically, each of the officers already has a pre-existing thing that I believe is for their. You have a door access swipe, don't you? Or what would you use your current swipe for? It is door access. Yeah, so they have a pre-existing RFID reading system to add for door access. What we're going to do is integrate with that card, so they swipe a fob on a little card reader. I have one in my bag that I will just pull out. Why not? It is very small and simple. And I'll pull out my building block now. So I'll pull up that slide again that's got the architecture on. So this is what we'll have in your assignment and check-in office. Is cameras in a docking station with an RFID reader and attached to this thing. So just to bring it a little closer to you. That's just a card reader. You swipe a card and this will attach to the card reader, and then the docking station plugs into that box. This takes USB on the front, so it will take the output of that, attaches to your Ethernet port.
So I know some companies have it where when they go by the station,
Yeah.
it totally downloads. This does not do
It
that.
offloads the footage over the. Again, we have that capability, so that would mean either you want the cameras to offload directly off over the Wi-Fi, but you probably wouldn't want it to happen just when you're driving by. So we have two models where you can either have it such that when it's put in a docking cradle, it will start to offload over Wi-Fi, or you can put it in a docking cradle and it will start to offload over a hardwired network, as is in the image. Or, as you said, if you're wanting to leave them in their car,
Right.
then when the car is parked in the garage, it will connect to that Wi-Fi and it'll upload there. We can do any of them. It's up to these guys how they would like to deploy the system. But what I think we are looking at, so one of the other things that we do differently to some of the other camera providers is that rather than a personal issue model, we use a pooled use model. So rather than the 65 officers, 65 cameras, this is yours, you use that one every day, we use a pooled use model. So rather than 65 officers, 65 cameras, it might be 45 cameras for 65 officers. All of the cameras are available in the docking station at the start of the day. You walk in, you swipe your card on the reader, the camera is assigned to you by association of your card, and when you swipe that card, it gives you a camera that has full battery, passed its audio-video checks, as well as having the most up-to-date firmware. So basically, it's to reduce any need for the guys to run anything in the background, where a camera breaks in the back end in a personal allocation model, they can't use that camera that day. They say, okay, I'm broken, go to the IT guy, he needs to log into the system, reallocate you a camera. Pooled use model, as many as they want available, they swipe it, they pick up the good camera. Any broken cameras, the software will highlight to you, and you can, again, with the maintenance plan we have, they're going to have a set of X amount of additional cameras just sitting in a drawer ready for use, and then we'll do maintenance as is necessary.
Did you say that there's a notice that goes off if the camera isn't working, so an officer would know something's
Yeah.
wrong with this camera?
There's lights and sounds from the camera that notify all sorts of things, and they're configurable.
Question.
So if the camera's full or anything like that.
Maybe to Rudy, the training for an officer to actually learn how to operate this, as well as the redaction process, is there a lot of training that goes on for that?
It's pretty minimal. The company, I'm sure, well, we've dealt with a different company, but
Chief.
they come in and they train our officers.
So go to the mic. That way it's recorded.
It's minimal. It's not rocket science. It's rather simple system to use. The company that we went with supplied training to all our officers. It was a 1 day, I think it was a 2-hour block of training where they showed the guys how to do it. The redaction and stuff like that, we have people that do that full time,
Right.
and that's basically for burning, taking faces out of juveniles for whatever, for somebody that's doing OPA requests and stuff like that. So that's a completely different, a line that our officers don't do. It's done by, we have mostly civilian personnel doing that. But the training was minimal.
And there's no problem with the civilians looking at the. I said there's no problem with the civilians looking at the footage.
They're sworn. They go through a complete background check. We
Okay.
hired them. They have criminal justice clearance. We have some officers that work in that unit as well, from our IT division type officers, and then
Gotcha.
we have some civilian employees that do
Okay.
it. I believe we have a total of 4, 2 part-time and then 2 full-time. But it does take some hours,
It
but we
does.
have substantially more camera footage to do with in Vineland than you would in Millville.
Okay, thank you.
And I would just say as well for the training from our end, working with Sergeant Cott there, yeah, we'll just provide end user training, like you said as well, short period of time. Swipe your card, pick up your camera, press the button. That's all they need to know. It's the video, the video processing and redaction users. He mentions redaction there as well. I just want to point out that something else we include within our video suite is a redaction facility, so you will have that built into the software too, so where you need to have anything
Okay.
within the footage, video and audio redacted, that's available to you.
Any further questions?
What about durability? So, something happens to them. How often would they be down? How long would they be down? What's the process on that?
Absolutely. Hard to speak to. Well, durability again. Within the UK, we have 15,000 cameras deployed, ish, and we have 3 people that do maintenance on that entire fleet. So we have 3 people who are doing RMA and repairs. So I think that ratio of being able to have that many cameras out in the field, but really are very robust. They're going to they pass 6-foot drop tests. They're really, really tough. IP54, they're happy to be in the rain. They just can't go swimming. Biggest repair we ever see is battery life. Again, it's like a cell phone. Gets that 2-year point, and if you're using it every single day, you get a little bit of degradation there, but we cover that under our warranty. And then we also have an auditable report that tells you what cameras you might need to send away. And again, in this pool juice model, should you have damaged cameras, we would just ask that they put them to the side, pull some out the drawer, send them back to us. And turnaround time, we're committed to less than 2 weeks on that. But again, real working life, 5 days, but 10 days, 2 days, or 2 weeks, sorry, I should say, is our quoted time.
Any other questions? Scott? Go ahead. Yep.
So let's talk turkey.
I'm not the sales guy for it. So
Okay.
I'm here as the technical asset, but I think it has been worked through with the officers. So
Is there anybody that can speak to that? Chief?
Yes. Pricing. We did look at 2 companies. One was Axon, one was Vigilant, and we're actually going to be working on a grant too, see where we can go with that. But both companies had different prices, so I think when I nail some more things down, I'll bring it back to your attention what the cost is and what one we want to go with. Vigilant is, and so is Axon. Yep.
State contract.
Yeah, they are. Anyone else?
Chief, when you were looking for another company, you found Vigilant, or did you go with another company?
Actually,
Chief
Commissioner, how we found Vigilant is through our LPRs when we were looking at the LPR system.
Okay.
And just through the talks, they said, we were thinking about body-worn cameras. He goes, well, we do that too in the UK. And I said, well, we had them come down and did a presentation, and we also had Axon, and we tried to compare both of them. But Axon was actually brought through the Chiefs Association, and a lot of chiefs throughout the state. There's a lot of the big cities go with Axon, so that's where I got it. And Chief Rudy Bew went with that company. So I only looked at 2 companies, and that's where we're at.
Chief, are we gonna see anything from Axon, or how are you gonna further process the decision?
Well, it's up to you guys if you want to do that. I wanted to get at least somebody to demonstrate how the body-worn cameras work. They're similar in nature, how they work. The only difference is is pricing, really. Some companies have a little more different bells and whistles, but when we had a meeting with our command staff, and they were very similar in nature of what both companies could do. But we can definitely have that, and they can come in here and we can do a demo with Axon too. And, give it to the board.
That's Axon, right?
Axon, yep. AXON.
Thank you.
Anyone else? No one else? Scotty, thank you so much for your
Thank you very much.
presentation. We appreciate it. Chief Bew, thank you so much for coming. Thank you, and Chief and Sergeant Cott, thank you for coming. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Joe kept his.
Bruce, we can't keep them. Gotta save some. I gotta save somehow.
All right, Madam Clerk, can we get to the next presentation?
Alrighty, so we have State of New Jersey Green Energy Incentives, and we have Gary Finger speaking on that. So,
Mr. Finger?
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is, she said, Gary Finger. I'm with the New Jersey Clean Energy Program. I was the former ombudsman to the Board of Public Utilities. Leaving there, I just now work for the contract administrator doing the exact same thing. So today, I had a presentation I prepared. I will send that over to the clerk so she can share that with everyone. I think it might be easier and faster if I just do this off the cuff. There's three things I want to talk about today. I'm going to talk about the Clean Energy Program incentives, which you all pay into. And we're going to talk about street lighting, because it's actually associated with not just the Clean Energy Program, but the potential that you have for that. And I, frankly, fronted this for the state with street lighting. So I'm the right guy to talk to about street lighting. And then I'm going to tell you how you're going to pay for it all, because that always becomes the question. Great ideas, but how am I going to pay for it? So let's talk a little bit about the Clean Energy Program. As I said, you pay for this now through a line item on your utility bill called Societal Benefit Charge. Doesn't matter if you're a resident, if you're a government entity, nonprofit, school district, large commercial, everybody pays. Those funds are used to leverage larger programs. There's about a $400 million pot to work with. The administration has certain priorities that it likes to look at, so the program has a tendency to change a little bit each year. For the most part, the structure is the same. So how it works is we like to come in and define for you what you can get started with. From a government entity standpoint, we can do comparisons with a free benchmarking study. Tells you what your energy use is for this building compared to other like-size township administration buildings. It's a nice way to get started. Does an Energy Star rating, so you have a number to work with. I was also a former elected official, so I'm not a big fan of spending a lot of time, and I don't really like dealing with the state of New Jersey if I can help it. The programs that I'd really like to see you get involved with are ones called the Local Government Energy Audit. This is an ASHRAE Level 2 audit. This will take a look at every building that you have that you put on the list. It'll take a look at every piece of equipment that you have contained within those buildings. It'll then give you a report at the end of the day or at the end of a couple months that defines what where your energy consumption is coming from, what the incentives are to replace that, what your energy savings will be, and your payback. It's all contained in this nice independent review, if you will. So nobody really has any skin in the game. This is a free audit. They sit down with you once everything is all said and done. The auditors will discuss all these topics with you. I am present during those because you're in my territory, for one. And once that's all said and done, I'm probably going to ask to have another meeting with you so I can tell you, all right, it's a lot of information. This isn't your background. Let's come in and talk about it so we can help get you started on the right process. So what this will do is identify the programs that are the most relevant for you. The programs could be something as simple as our prescriptive program. We call it Smart Start. And that would be anything that uses electric or uses gas. If it's motors, drives, HVAC, occupancy sensors, chillers, the list goes on and on. We've got money for that. So you can pick those things off. We also have packaged programs, excuse me, which I prefer. So if you qualify for one of the programs called like direct install, for example, which is ideal for your business community, the state will cover 70% of the cost. That's the equipment and the installation. So if you have a $100,000 project, the state's picking up $70,000 of that. You've got $30,000 you've got to ride with. Your payback period's about 2 years. This is a retrofit program, meaning it's a one-for-one. You have a question?
We pay for the other 30%.
Yes, you do. However, you're fortunate because you're in South Jersey Gas's territory. South Jersey Gas has a program working with a clean energy program that says, I'll tell you what, we're going to cover that 30%. You pay us back. They're going to loan you the money at 0% interest for 5 years. It honestly is a no-brainer. We did this in my town with our police station. The project cost was $153,000. The program capped out at $125,000. I had to sit down with the finance director and explain to him why it still made sense. Because he did the same thing. He says, well, I still have out of pocket of another $30,000. I said, yeah, but you're going to pay for it with 0% interest. And at that time, it was 3 years. I said, at the end of the day, you're going to make money on the energy savings, which is going to be greater than what you're paying back. So you have immediate return. Yes?
What determines how much money you're making off the energy? Is that a set rate, or is that in negotiations of?
I'm not sure how much money you're making off the energy. We're looking at energy savings. The dollars that are associated with that are the incentives that have been devised. So in other words, instead of putting in just a basic air conditioning unit, you're going to be putting in a high efficiency air conditioning unit. So you're getting offsetting dollars to do that. But the payback is very quick. The money savings goes on well beyond the life of the loan as well as the life of the equipment for the most cases. So we have case after case. If I was showing you a PowerPoint, I'd show you examples of how this works. If your building uses less than a 200 kW demand load, this one, my guess is it's going to exceed that. But fire halls and so forth, it's a perfect solution. This is a way, to get started to say, how can we do this? When an auditor comes in to do that initial review with you, he's going to say, well, tell me about your buildings. How do you use them? Do you use them 8 hours a day, 12 hours a day? What are your future uses of the buildings? Do you have critical facilities? Because that will determine other types of equipment that they may suggest. Critical facilities being, in the event of a storm, this may house your police stations is always a great example. Do you have power issues? They might suggest other types of equipment that will keep that station operational. So that becomes kind of key. I have gotten the auditors to start focusing on things like pumping stations, because nobody thinks about pumping stations. Well, you most likely have a lot of them, and that is a big expense. And when you have to repair that equipment, it's a bigger expense. So let's take a look at that from an auditing standpoint, because you can get money for those pumps and motors. So, I'm going to say it over and over again. If it uses gas, if it uses electric, there's money for the program for that. And you're entitled to every single dollar you can possibly get. You have buildings that are larger. So we look at something that's called performance-based contracting. And again, please, I'm trying to go through a lot here. I'm going to give you everything on a nice PowerPoint you can look at your leisure. So does it pay 70% of the cost? No. But it pays up to $2 million. So it looks at a whole building envelope as to what we can do to get your number down 15% lower than what you're currently using. It's not hard. The only thing we tell people is, look, don't pick off the low-hanging fruit, which is called lighting. When you do that, you sort of kill some of these other packages. Let's look at this holistically. That's where it makes the most sense. I mentioned about resiliency. So you might have a situation where you've got to keep facilities operational. You can do on-site generation, combined heat and power. It's called many things. It takes a fuel source like gas, which you have, runs a turbine, produces electricity, and the offshoot of that is heat. Well, it captures that heat essentially with a heat jacket, puts it back into the facility. Hot water, heat, whatever. That is a very efficient form of energy production, and if it's appropriate, if you've got the run times to support it, there's a lot of money just for CHP to the tune of about $3 million. So there's money there. So you're kind of catching the steam. We can start by doing things that are free, gives you a guide. There's money in the program that you can get out of the program. So, you know, we have example after example. If you've ever been down to Atlantic City, especially during the league, some great restaurants. If anybody ever been to Stephen Cookies in Margate? Typical restaurant. Typical, great restaurant. Piano bar, owner's a little strange, but that's okay. The food is excellent. They do their own on-site generation. Why that's meaningful is because during power outages, and of course barrier islands have them, they've never ever been without power. She got $40,000 out of the program to do on-site generation. She also does some battery storage. Where it's critical to them, it's not that they want to keep a restaurant operational. She's got refrigeration. And that refrigeration goes down, and they have food spoilage. Utility company is not writing them a check. So it becomes very important, those types of critical operations, what do they want to keep running? We have these conversations with school districts all the time. Schools are really hesitant in some cases to go down these roads. We start with an audit, folks. And in the case of school districts, ultimately, they're not even going to have to do this through a referendum. So you say, all right, Gary, you've just talked about a lot of programs here. We're going to jump now into street lighting. And off the top of my head, I believe you have about 2,000 lights. I think you spend about $500,000 a year, somewhere around there, in your unmetered street lighting costs. Street lights are owned by the utility companies. You just have the privilege of paying the bill. So they own them, they operate them. I don't recall the breakdown on it. There's two rates. You happen to be in the best utility territory possible because Atlantic City Electric is very cooperative with their municipalities. So what they will do is to give you the opportunity to cut your bill by 2/3 through an existing tariff. And the tariff is what guides this. The tariff is the only thing that guides this. So we've had towns that have come to us when I was with the board to say, you know, I'm in public services territory. This is ridiculous. We can't put up our own lights. We're going to condemn the poles. Nope. Tariff controls it. So you're at your relationship with the utility company becomes key. I don't want to say you're at their mercy. In Atlantic City Electric's territory, they have a contributory rate called a CSL rate. So you happen to have both in this city. You have the SPL and the CSL rate. They will convert your lights over at a nominal charge right now, and your savings would be very nominal. If you front the capital cost of those Cobra heads, first of all, you can get money from the Clean Energy Program to the tune of $150 per Cobra head. Atlantic City, you will then give those lights to Atlantic City Electric because we can't give them incentive dollars. So you're going to buy them. You're going to give ownership to the utility. The utility will then install them because it's their poles, their union, their rules. At the end of the day, Hamilton is a great example. They had a $300,000 annual bill. I forget how many lights they had. They got $150,000 out of the Clean Energy Program. They took their $300,000 bill, cut it down to $100,000. Go ahead.
Say that process one more time. We
Okay.
buy them. The light.
It doesn't sound kosher, but it is.
Just
It's a contributory rate, CSL. If I had Ken Mosca sitting in here from Atlantic City Electric, he will say the same thing verbatim. So you are buying the lights. You're basically right now buying them from Atlantic City Electric because it's on their tariff, although I'm working on that. You will then, once you buy them, you get to apply for the clean energy funds to offset the dollars somewhat. You will then own those lights, give the lights the ownership to Atlantic City Electric to install them. That's an LED light. And you say, well, why do I want LED lights? Okay, I can save some money. What if I just put it under their standard rate and the savings will not be we really wouldn't be there. Okay, you now have a better quality of light. I love the presentation earlier about body cameras. Well, those body cameras are going to respond to the quality of light that they have out on the streets at night. When you have sodium vapor, those orangey colored lights, obviously puts a different cast on everything. The quality of an LED cannot be matched. So you will see much more the depth of field. You'll see the clarity of trying to distinguish features. Nationally, crime stats will drop somewhere between 11 and 12%. That's a given. The life of the light will probably be, instead of 2 to 3 years, which is what you currently have, it'll probably be 15 to 20. In most cases, they're guaranteed for 10. But LEDs last a long time. So that is another plus with it. The only downside is, yeah, the initial cost, but your payback period's about 7 years. So, you know, where the towns have the ability to do this in Atlantic City Electric's territory, they definitely want to get involved with it. So it's a program that works. You say, all right, now, Gary, you've just mentioned a lot more money that we're spending. How on earth are we going to do this? Anybody ever heard of the Energy Saving Improvement Program? ESIP. This is by state statute, it's a funding umbrella, funding mechanism that you're allowed to do energy efficiency, including streetlights, and use the money that you save through energy reduction to pay down a self-liquidating bond. Therefore, this is money that is outside of your cap, doesn't affect your budget. In the case of a school district, that's why they bypass a referendum. It's not new money. So we have probably about 120 schools that have done this in the state of New Jersey. We've had several towns that have said, you know what, it makes a lot of sense. My payback period's short. I can actually get more done. Maybe that initial audit's going to come up and say, well, gee, it's identified $1 million worth of projects. Well, when you do this under ESIP, you're going to have somebody else come in and make a proposal to you that might be $2 million. They'll give you a good explanation as to why. At the end of the day, your payback period will be manageable. You are not permitted by law to have any negative cash flows in any 1 year. Who looks at that? The BPU. So the process is this. You have your audit. And everybody says, let's go out and see if we can't get all this work done. We're going to put it out to bid. Well, the bid becomes the initial audit that didn't cost anything. There's a template on the Clean Energy website for municipalities to follow. You'll have you'll have 16 ESCOs in the state. ESCO is an energy saving company that will bid on it. Actually, out of the 16, you'll probably have maybe 4 or 5. The way the structure of the NESIP works, it is not lowest bid. It's lowest and best. And those of us who were involved in rewriting that legislation, were involved in public life before, we recognize what happens with low bids, so that we're not interested in lowballing. You sit down as a council with, and certainly with your facilities people, to say, well, what makes the most sense? You know, you're saying your project's going to cost a lot more. Why? Well, they're going to tell you the reasons why, what they're going to put in place that's going to be more palatable to you, that you can handle. You'll make a decision at the end of the day. They will come back and present an energy savings plan. I know I'm using a lot of terminology that you're not always familiar with. That's where it starts getting very real, which is all good. It moves the whole process, and that could include the lights. There's no reason why it can't. We did this project in Atlantic City. Lighting was a big component. Some of this did go under the ESIP umbrella that the ESCO did. Unfortunately, when the state got involved, it kind of fouled things up with Atlantic City. But the reality is, at the end of the day, they relamped 5,000 lights in the city. It's a lot of lights. It's a lot of lights. So,
Any other questions?
Yeah, I have
go
some.
ahead.
The audit.
Yes.
What is the cost of an audit? Or
Free.
how does it come about? Audit's free. And from the audit, we then get bids?
The initial audit will tell you everything that needs to be done. These are all your potential projects. This is the incentives that you'll get back from the state. All that's defined.
Okay.
Then you can say, all right, I can pick this off little by little, your choice. I want to do this all at once. Great. Then we'll look at it in a structure like an ESIP an energy savings plan, which would cover all of that.
Then after the audit, we put out for a bid.
Correct.
What is the cost involved in putting out the
Yeah,
bid?
yeah, we haven't spent a dime yet. And by the way, when you do this, if you're looking at any type of solar applications, first of all, the initial audit identifies that anyway. If you say, I'm very interested in solar, they're going to tell you whether you're a good candidate because of where you want to locate it, or you're not. We've had towns say, I'm very interested in geothermal, I'm very interested in vertical wind turbines. They'll mention that in the body of the report that you can look at. And then they're not going to tell you the exact cost of solar because it's a strange market right now. So they're just going to tell you if it's viable. I can tell you right now the state of New Jersey has no incentives for solar. The only incentives that are available are federal tax credits, which is a government entity you don't qualify for. The SREC market is rapidly changing. I can't tell you where it's going to end up, but I know it's changing. But right now they're under mandate to address the SREC issue because the state is already at the 5.1 generation capacity.
And finally, what's the time expectancy to go through this entire process?
Believe it or not, it'll probably take, the audit itself doesn't take very long. It might take you longer to accumulate the energy bills.
I believe an audit was already done by a company.
I believe you had an audit done probably about 6-7 years ago. If, which is different. It may have. You don't necessarily have to have the two together. The direct install program can work independently as long as you know, and I prefer that, quite frankly. If you know you have a building that has a demand load less than 200 kW, I would say let's stick them in the direct install program because it's a very fast program. It's retrofit. You're going to be in and out in probably 4 months.
What's that, Mark?
Direct install. But he said that's separate from this audit.
Well,
That's our CFO, by the way.
And that building would probably be taken out of an audit. Direct install is one of the clean energy programs. If you have a good fit for direct install, I would bypass the audit as well and go right to direct install. For all the buildings? If you just did...
There has been work done.
I have to look into that.
How long ago was that done? Just
Last year.
No.
2 years ago.
That was 2 years ago.
I will go back and pull those archives and see what was done. Do you know who the contractor was at the time? You know, was that done through Broadley or who the contractor was? Oh, FSI? I'm going to pull those reports because FSI used to do a lot of lighting projects, and sometimes there was the bigger picture got missed. I'll pull that. They're not part of the program any longer for a reason. So, but again, let me go back. I'll pull all those old records to see does it still make sense to do it. You may have other facilities, police, public works. I don't know. So that's what would be available. If you aren't going to be looking at doing an audit and you're still going to be making improvements, you still are eligible for the clean energy program, the prescriptive programs where you're picking off individual items. You can still get money back.
Mr. Finger, I just have a few questions. You had mentioned about the audit process and the data being derived from the audit, being able to produce information that would be able to go into a bid specification,
Yep.
and that the template is also available through Clean Energy. That would be something that our municipality and our city solicitor would actually be able to utilize?
Yep.
Okay.
Anybody can utilize it.
In terms of prioritizing the customization of the plan, I know that once the bid specifications go out, would that be considered to be a professional service that at that point could be negotiated under a contract, or would that be something separate that once the actual bids actually are they're provided and that they are open, that is in essence what we are as a municipality agreeing to?
The bid specs themselves are going to be based upon the initial audit. They're tweaked a little bit because the template is there for a reason, so the solicitor is going to make some minor modifications to it, which would have to be approved by the BPU. Frankly, you need very little in the way of modifications. However, this is when the bids come in, this is where it gets to be where you sit down with the individual companies, the ESCOs, because they will make proposals that are not part of that initial audit, which is what you want. You want them to be creative. You're still not involved with any out-of-pocket expense really at that point. Your expense really doesn't get started until the project really gets moving. They're going to do an investment-grade audit. You're not spending a dime unless you choose not to move forward, in which case some company has just spent $150,000, $200,000 to put together an investment-grade audit. So they'll put that in their agreement to say, if you're not going to move forward, you may have to pay us for that. Not all companies do that. That can be negotiated. But certainly if you're going to move forward with it, you won't see that money anyway. It gets buried into the cost of all the upgrades.
And the initial selection of a company to perform the audit would be something that we could seek counsel from New Jersey Clean Energy?
Nope. The company that does it, frankly, is the program administrator, TRC Solutions. They are the administrator. We're an international company. We do audits all the time. So it used to be a process which was also a bid process. They did away with that. It is strictly the contract administrator performing the audits.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes, sir.
What does it mean that you're the contract administrator?
State of New Jersey put out a contract probably 10 years ago to say we need somebody to handle the clean energy program. You will devise the programs, you will administer the day-to-day activities, and promote the activities of the clean energy program. TRC was one of the companies who bid on it, who got the award. It was rebid probably back in 2016. TRC ended up getting it again. It's quite frankly not something a lot of people want to do. It's a lot of tedious backroom work. So they administer the program. So when I say I represent the clean energy program, I'm essentially a subcontractor to the state. I'm not selling anything. I just represent the program.
Mr. Finger, have you covered everything you needed to cover?
I have.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Let's move on to the next subject. Thank you, sir. Madam Clerk?
All right. So our next presentation is by Steve Durst of Synergy LLC for a solar project.
Quick question for Mr. Finger. Does involvement with TRC preclude the city from engaging my company or some other independent company to do solar or some other? Okay. One more question. Aside from the street light, is there a number, an average savings that emanates from these activities and these various uses? Anything you can...
It depends on the scope of the project. I mean, we've seen school districts in particular that on average they'll probably save $300,000 to $400,000 per year for a school district. Just to do these relatively simple. I say simple because when you use some lights and air conditioning, there's nothing to make them run more efficient.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Mr. Durst, please identify yourself and your company.
Steve Durst, Synergy LLC. We first began talking to the city, you folks, in early November, I believe, about representing you as a solar provider. I'll keep it simple. We will save the city 35% on its electric use on anything that is involved with our solar program, and we will finance 100% of the project cost from start to finish, every last dime. There will not be any upfront costs to be reimbursed, any costs whatsoever. All costs are on us. Steve Trumbo, my partner, Tim McGee, my son-in-law, and other partner who's with us tonight. Steve's just distributed to you an offer by Synergy to purchase 260 Lot 1, the Wheaton plant, part of the Wheaton plant, for a price of $100,000. We did an Oprah request on whatever had previously gone on with that transaction, and we're confident that in no way are we interfering with anyone's contract. In fact, we're confident there is no contract. This is a contract. The memorandum of understanding, unless there's something that supersedes it, was the last document that preceded this, clearly says that it's non-binding, among other things. There's other elements, but I won't practice law here tonight. I'm not very good at it. But it states it's non-binding. I'm interested in entering into a binding contract for $100,000 to purchase Block 260, Lot 1. We're also interested in purchasing, I forget the lot and block, but it's in the little package, the 10.5-acre tract down by the substation on South 10th Street, also for solar. In fact, that's where we would locate the meg-and-a-half of approximate solar activity for the city, would be on the South 10th Street substation. I know that for the past several months you have vetted various folks who are interested in providing solar to the city. I just wanted to mention to you that our involvement in Millville is a lot closer than most, I would think. We've done $121 million, I say we, not Synergy, but principals of Synergy, primarily myself. $121 million worth of development in Cumberland County. $105 million of it was here in Millville in the last 15 years, creating over 1,200 jobs. We've done all 5 schools, Synergy has now, solar, all 5 schools in Upper Pittsgrove, the municipal building. Tim brought together a deal to do the Fairfield Elementary School. We've also just completed their municipal building, and we've done the Millville MUA. That was the only solar RFP that was issued, to my knowledge, in the last 10 years or so here. We prevailed and won that RFP. We also have PPAs signed with Buena Vista to do their 4 schools in their municipal building. Vince Mayone, recently retired president of Atlantic City Electric, is the exclusive consultant in solar to our company, the Synergy LLC. So consistent with Mr. Finger's presentation, along the lines of street lighting and the fact that ACE is your serving utility, we think we have an excellent line of communication with ACE and would have an opportunity perhaps to work with Mr. Finger in that street lighting opportunity that we discussed with you earlier. In addition to the things I just mentioned to you, when we were developing here actively, and I say we, when I was with Goodman Properties, we funded the Blue Angels presentation in the 2007 air show. We financed the soccer fields where Kohl's now stands. We moved the soccer fields out by the airport for $2.2 million. And when Mayor Shannon at the time asked if we would leave the lights on the existing fields and put new ones on the new soccer fields, I spent $400,000 of Mr. Goodman's money to his everlasting endearment of me, and we left those lights there. I bring these things up because our relationship and my relationship with this city is close. We care about Millville, and while we weren't born and raised here, our behavior and our commitment and the things we do are the next best thing. So in any event, we are very interested in you voting on allowing us to proceed with an interconnection application. Every month that we do nothing, we're losing $11,000 or $12,000 in savings. Somebody comes along, you're not bound while we do the interconnection, which will take 6 or 8 weeks. You're not bound to go through with anything with us. I've said that on the record, under oath. So the bottom line is you're not bound to follow through on a deal with us or any solar company until you've executed a power purchase agreement. So everything's on us, and I would just like to get going unless somebody's got a better deal. But I'm standing here to tell you 35% will be your savings, and you'll never lay out a dime.
Question. You've kind of been involved with this. Can you review with me the things that you've done so far? I guess as part of an audit, you already came to the city to request records to see what our cost, expense, et cetera. Could you review that?
Well, we've Steve, you want to speak to that?
You've almost done part of the process that they were referring to.
Sure.
Already.
Yeah. Hi, Steve Trumbo with Synergy LLC also. The last month we brought a projection to you that showed specifically what you're talking about. I don't have it with me here this evening, but it did reflect a 35% or greater savings of your overall electricity costs, all right, which is including supply and delivery. I believe that, trying to remember the numbers now. I don't remember exactly the numbers, Joe. I think it was just over $100,000
The point that I was
a year.
trying to make is some of the things that Mr. Finger was talking about in the sense of research to see the savings, et cetera. These have already been done by what you guys
We did look at your street lighting bills, and there is an opportunity to save some money there. And Mr. Fingers spoke about that tonight, and like Steve had just mentioned, we'd be glad to discuss that with him. And he's pretty close on your numbers about what you used. It was closer to $600,000 you spent last year on street lighting. So he was very close when he said $500,000. And he's also right on the money with what you would be able to save in terms of 60% or 66% on that number.
Two other crucial things that I'm concerned about. One is time, and how quickly, if we decide to go with whatever company, we'll be able to begin a process of savings.
We could have the solar component up and operating in about 9 months, we believe, from this meeting tonight. Might be off a month either way, but unless there's some unusual impediments. So your savings would begin to come into effect in late 2019 or January 2020, less than a year.
And contractually, we're able to bind you and your company through our attorney for all the claims that you're making.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We've done, as we indicated, 7 or 8 schools in Cumberland County in the last 2 years. So most of what we do is very local. Our references you're familiar with, they're Dr. Ed Salmon and Joe Dorella. So when I say we're close with Millville and our work and our integrity are
The Union
strong.
Lake Crossing Center is part of it as well.
I'm sorry?
Union Lake Crossings?
What about it?
No, I'm just saying you were part of that when I was on the school board.
Yes, I was a minority partner and project manager at Union Lake Crossing.
We go back to Union Lake Crossing.
We go
Steve.
back.
I just brought back memories of you coming before the city commission and talking about what you'd like to see up there, and it's there today because of you. I want you to know that.
I had help.
It was a very difficult project.
$85 million of
But,
Mr. Goodman's help.
We made it happen. And
But,
as far as doing business with you, you always know where I'm from. I enjoyed.
Well, the pleasure was mutual. I can remember the planning board meeting for the approvals. And in a half hour, we took a vote. It was 7-0 or whatever it was. And we walked out and Goodman said, "What's next?" I said, "Dig a hole." I said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "No, I said, "No, we're done. We're done." Here, people appreciate jobs and investment. He's used to 2.5 years in Montgomery County, Pennsylvania. So the pleasure was ours.
Any other questions?
Yeah, one other one. Overall savings ballpark, I know you're not going to be able to give me an exact dollar. What do you see the savings for the city yearly based on making the changes and going with solar as well as the light changes?
Well, the solar was between $105,000 and $115,000, about $1.5 million when the city's use. Okay, the street light changes conservatively between Mr. Finger's recitation and our own experience and the relationship with ACE through Vince Mayone. I think you're going to save 50% or better when you're street lighting. So if you spent $600,000 last year, you will save another $300,000. And the bottom line is, without having all the T's crossed or I's dotted, if there's front money required, and I recall from Mr. Finger's presentation there was some front money required, we would consider putting that money up on the street lighting component if it's legal to do that, so that we can help the city in that regard.
So what you're asking for tonight, you had mentioned about a vote on getting permission to, can you say that one more time what it was?
To make the interconnection application for the solar to the serving utility, to ACE, takes about 6 or 8 weeks, so we know we can connect to the grid. Everything else is kind of colored bubbles until they say you can connect. Then we know we've got a project.
And you're saying reserving space on the grid
Yes.
that at one point could go away if somebody else gets the spot.
Oh,
prior
no
to-
question. Now, right now, as Mr. Finger pointed out, it's a little chaotic in solar. Fortunately, our financing is driven by the tax benefits. The SREC market is chaotic. Nobody knows what it is because of the current fascination with offshore wind. But be that as it may, we're content with the representations we're making to you.
The interconnect application we're asking for tonight is for the city buildings and facilities. It's
And-
a separate project than the lighting.
Is there any commitment by the city? This to me seems similar to when a company that wants to apply for a marijuana production, them coming to us and saying, "Will you give us a green light to apply for this state?" There's no connection.
There's no
Is it-
commitment by you. If we get the connection and come back and you say, we got it, you can say, well, great work, guys, but we've decided not to
Okay.
move ahead.
By the way, it would be in the city's name, the interconnect application, so it's your application. And so if you don't like Steve and I any longer and don't want to continue with us, you still own it. You can pick a different solar company.
We'll pay the fee. We write every check in this project from
Yeah.
start to finish. But the application will be in your name. You will own it.
So at this motion, it would give them the opportunity to do something like that?
With all due respect, Mr. Trumbo and Mr. Durst and Commissioner Pepitone, I would rather our city solicitor have ample time to review this and find out if the interconnection application could be reviewed and maybe hold this as an item for the April 2nd meeting.
Next meeting?
One other thing I would ask you to do. In my Oprah requests, I also made an Oprah request in Hamilton. You have gone a certain distance down the road to have Gable Associates represent you. I would urge you to take a very hard look at that. We simply will walk away if that's the case. I would ask that you vet that thoroughly. They represent to Hamilton as they represented to you. You'll never have a dime out. That's folly. Hamilton is already obligated for $90,000. Bottom line is, I'm not going to go any further with that other than say you should vet that very, very thoroughly in terms of their representations and their control.
Council, do you see a problem of any type of, again, my concern is time, let's putting off 2 more weeks. Is there any problem for the city if we were to give it, and then again, I don't know how it's going to go, a favorable reply to a motion made to give them permission to seek this next step? Do you see a problem?
Well, this, just so I understand it, it's only for solar for city buildings, is that correct?
The meters that you had supplied us previously, exclusive of the
With the
lighting.
information.
Right. And we've had some solar projects done, I think on 15th Street. So we would be talking about this building and the building next door?
Yeah, but those were the main two
the main
buildings.
two,
Yeah,
right.
it worked out to about
The municipal
1.5
buildings.
million kilowatt hours.
And again, just to reiterate, there's no commitment on the city's part
Zero.
once you do this.
Zero.
So whether we did it tonight or 2 weeks from now,
That doesn't
There's no-
change. There's no
Okay.
obligation.
with that, I'm comfortable making a motion, and I don't know if any of my colleagues would consider.
Hold on, Commissioner. Commissioner Cooper, he has a comment.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I just have one question about. I think the public would like to know as well. How do we make out with the other project? Marcy, I think we had talked about whether there was a savings before with the other substation project.
I didn't bring the numbers with me, but I did an analysis for the mayor, and there was a substantial savings. I know it was well over $100,000.
Over what period of time?
I think it,
This ballpark.
these numbers, I think it was from, I did an analysis from 2015 through 2018. And I think the project was done back in 2012.
It was operable at the Christmas 2012. You talking about the MUA?
The sewer
Yeah,
plant.
the
Sewer plant.
Yes.
Sewer plant,
yeah.
Yeah, not 15th, sewer plant.
I don't have my,
The savings,
That's okay, Mark.
but I think it was, I did an analysis from the year that it started.
Yep.
So it was 2012 to present. And I believe we were paying more back in 2012 than we're paying right now.
it should be a lot better than that. When we did that project,
Thank you, Marcy.
the payments were $287,000 a year, and the projection was that the payments would drop to about $150,000 a year. savings were pegged at about 46%. So we would hope that you would find that to be approximately the case. Very substantial savings.
I want the commission to be aware of that. You know, we have an RFP program here where we allowed other companies to
Is this
come in.
needed?
This is not an RFP from what you're saying.
It is not, and I don't believe it's needed under this contract.
Well, I think just to be fair, as a commission, as a city government, that we open up to an RFP. We don't have to open up to one now. Allow Mr. Durst and his company to do what they want. But I want you to remind all of us that we operate under an RFP program. That gives everybody else an opportunity to give a bid, and we get to look at it. I think that's the fair way to go. That's my opinion.
And again, I'm going to say, let me respond. We're about to look at increases for the people of the city of Millville. I'm concerned about any type of savings that we could garner as quickly as possible. Often I see, from my perspective, government tends to chug so slowly. And with a situation where our council is telling for this next step, there's no issue to the city, there's no harm that could come from this, I don't understand why we would put this off again. And again, it's just my...
Joe, I'm not questioning that. What I'm saying to you, in the future, it's okay what you want to do with them in the next couple of weeks. I'm okay with that. But what I want to remind you is that we work under an RFP or RFQ. Okay?
We do, but in this situation, we don't have to do an RFP because they've already received approval from the state as winning an RFP, as I understand.
Correct. When you
the
go
state put it
shared
out.
services, which is the way we go and prefer to go, we eliminate the RFP process. We've already won an RFP for alternative energy. The bottom line is we eliminate the city having to lay out front money that Hampton is laying out right now, okay? Gable did Delsey, where you work. And Delsey took 4 years from the time of interconnection to when the lights went on, if they're on yet. Began in 2014.
They're
It
just
wasn't
finishing the
complete at the end of
project.
2018. And the costs went through the roof. The bottom line is, the city was out well over $200,000 for almost 4 years before they were reimbursed. We're trying to avoid that in your behalf. We'll lay out
By the
that
way,
money.
Mr. Mayor, if I may also, in that situation, we had gotten to Delsey, and we had actually done the interconnect application, which we're asking for this evening. We had it complete, and then they ended up going RFP. So we gave our work over to Gable, as it ended up, and Garrison Architects, and they ended up using our interconnect application and did get approved, and then took 4 years to get the thing done. We would, by using shared services, we can come in, if we get approved, we can sit down and negotiate with you a price and show you the savings that you'll be getting. We have to charge under a certain level. We won an RFP at, I think it's 8.7 cents. All right? We can charge less than that. We can't charge more.
But to simplify it,
Thank you,
we
Steve.
will save you a guaranteed 35%. That number
Thank
will
you.
be what that number will be.
Bruce, did you say something?
Over what period of time for the 35%?
Yearly.
For savings?
Annual?
Forever.
Is that annual?
Yeah,
Forever.
Forever.
Yeah, forever.
Well, 15 years.
Any other question?
At this time, Mr. Mayor, I think it would just be helpful to provide my comment. I still feel that we should verify this between now and April 2nd, and if approved by our city solicitor, include as a resolution that could be memorialized during the regular meeting. That would be my opinion.
I can see us, let's get together. Let's get together with our professional staff also and try to get this done by the next city commission meeting.
We're content with that.
Okay?
If the savings are yours, we write the check. We're
I'm
not
not going to
trying
get a
to
second then.
stampede.
That's the way it's got to be.
Well,
You'll have a paper resolution too that you can look at,
yeah.
before you vote.
To be honest with you, we began the process about 4 months ago, and we're trying, time is the one thing you can't recapture. So we're interested in getting to the savings as quickly as we can.
Yeah, I'd like to hear a comment from the city administrator on it, though, some input.
All the emails that they forwarded about the shared service, and it was knowledge about a shared service, but I'm not seeing the actual shared service resolution, or if it's a co-op, the actual co-op that we're purchasing it from. Everybody keeps saying shared service with Newfield. I can't find any information on it. If we could forward us the resolution, the legal counsel could review to make sure it's in line with what we can do.
And I'm sure that's something that Brock will look into. I don't see Brock now.
Do you think it's actually a co-op?
We'll supply you with all the paperwork. I
think
thought
it
we'd
may-
already
I think it
done
might be
that.
a co-op.
Let's just get some legal advice. Let's put this thing together so that we can move on it ASP.
Sure.
I'm sure that, you know, that I just have a feeling that, you know, we want to go in that direction, Mayor, or, you know, see where we are.
Is there anything other than the documentation, the whole package on the shared services entity that you feel you need from us?
You can look at the interconnect application online if you wanted to see it, or just call the green team at Atlantic City Electric, and you can ask them that question. Tell them the city is interested in applying for an interconnect application. Are we obligated? Should we be approved? Are we obligated to move forward? And they'll tell you no.
Commissioner, are you going to make a motion? It's open to you right now. You're on the spotlight.
I will. I'm going to make a motion that we move to give Mr. Durst and his group the opportunity to apply for the, I'm not sure what the exact term is. The interconnect application at no expense or responsibility to the city. Is there anyone who wants?
For solar at city buildings, including City Hall and the Police Administration Building?
Exactly. Thank you.
Do you have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Oh, roll
Do we have
call
to do
vote.
a roll
Do
call?
roll call vote.
Go ahead, roll call.
Commissioner Pepitone.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Parent.
I'm going to go yes with, we got 3 votes.
Commissioner Udalvis.
No.
Commissioner Cooper.
Yes.
Mayor Santiago.
No.
Okay, motion carries.
Thank you, Commissioners. Thank you. Steve and Steve.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk?
Alrighty. That's all for presentations.
Okay. We've now reached the public comment on agenda items only.
Mr. Mayor, I
Oh,
apologize. We actually have one presentation item, and if I can just debrief the commission on what it was that we were to present tonight, we
Sure.
could actually carry that over to another work session item as well. On August 7th, 2018, the Board of Commissioners adopted by resolution an award of professional service contract with New Jersey Community Capital for services to update Chapter 11 of the Municipal Code of the City of Millville and to provide technical assistance in implementing departmental procedures to address vacant properties, abandoned properties, and properties identified as problematic. This evening, the department was prepared to inform the commission of the prospective revisions. At this time, I will refer to our supervising planner, Samantha Silvers. Would it be possible to forward the revisions or a succinct just review of the decisions to the commission for their review? Yes. Madam Clerk, we will have those revisions and an itemization of the revisions available for the commission for their review. And at this time, I'll postpone this work session item until the April 2nd,
April 2nd,
work
okay.
session, where
Okay.
it'll fall under the discussion of commissioners.
Okay.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Roll call. Oh, we're done roll call.
We're done, yeah.
Let's
There's no
move
roll
on.
call. Okay, we're on public comment, right? Or are we-
I'm waiting for somebody to come up to the mic.
Are we-
I actually can't see it because of the sun.
Are we
The
public
sun's
comments?
in my eyes.
We're getting blinded.
Tim Cardy, Millville. I want to discuss this solar project. I don't know what the big rush is for it all of a sudden. I mean, Mr. Durst says he's all for Millville and everything, but yet he took the city of Millville to court back in 2010 over the Goodman properties. If he was for the city of Millville, I don't think he would do that. Also, the issues and whatever happened at the sewer plant with the solar field, that was Mr. Durst's project. Obviously, there was some issues. That's 2 strikes. As far as the LED lighting, the savings that's going to do, I'd rather see us invest in doing the LED lighting. Makes the streets brighter. Cuts down on crime. It's a proven fact. Atlantic City went to LED light bulbs. Reduced crime 30%. We can get more grants through the LED instead of the solar. It's the guys from the state already said that. I'm trying to speak fast because I know you guys are short on time. The township of Hamilton, they went to LED lights. They're saving about $180,000 a year.
You didn't say no to that.
$180,000 a year on LED. It took how long, did Marcy say, for us to get a savings with the solar field? Seems like $180,000 yearly is quicker. As far as the solar goes, it should go out to RFP. He's saying he can save us 30%. What happens if a company walks in here and says, I'll save you 50%? I did a little research on Synergy. Give me 1 second. Synergy is like a middleman. They don't install them. They have another company that does it. According to their website. After I researched that company, it's Cambrana out of Massachusetts. Basically, they've done MUA solar fields. They've done an insurance agency with rooftops and a hardware store with a rooftop. They don't install them. Shared services as far as solar go, you guys haven't seen no plan. And I don't understand how you can do shared services. If I was you, it's my taxpayer money. Commissioner Pepitone, you're the one making the biggest push ever.
It's mine as well.
Well, if you're not going to see, you need to sit back. Let's do it right and not cost us down the road. Something sounds fishy. I'm sorry to say. There's other ways to save money. Change light bulbs. That's savings. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cardy. Next. Don't everybody jump at the same time here. Open up. No? Okay, I close the public portion on items on the agenda. Wow. Old business, Madam Clerk.
There's no old business, Mayor.
Discussion of commissioners. Commissioner Cooper.
Not at this time, Mr. Mayor.
Commissioner Pepitone.
I have one question to Mr. Durst. Are you ruling out LED lighting? With
We're
your,
not ruling it out, but from what I heard tonight, I think we have an opportunity to work with Mr. Finger. And I believe I heard there's a requirement for some front-end money, and we may well put that up just to advance the cause. But we've already had some pretty good reception because of Mr. Mayone at ACE, and I just see putting these elements together to get a result. And, you know, we are not looking to make a fee or a profit or anything of the sort, but just to get something done, because the savings are astronomical. We're talking $300,000+
Thank you.
a year, be enormous for the city.
and again, I'd like to say thank you for your previous involvement with the city and the positive results that have occurred. And thank you, Marcy, for your information of showing that there was a savings, even though at our last previous meeting, someone made a comment and said it was a fiasco and there were no savings.
I will forward that spreadsheet that I did for the mayor.
Thank you so much. I appreciate reality.
Anything else, Commissioner?
That's it, sir.
Commissioner Galvis?
Not at this time, Mr. Mayor.
Vice Mayor?
Not at this time, Mayor.
I have no comments either. Go to new business, please.
There is no new business, Mayor.
All right, we've reached the public comment portion of this meeting. Anyone that would like to address this commission, please go to the podium, state your name, and address your concerns, and we give you 5 minutes. That's it.
Hi, my name is Terry, and I emailed all of you this evening before I came down.
Are you a resident of Millville?
No, okay, but I do have some concerns that I want to bring
Can you
to
give us your residency? You don't have to tell
I'm
your
sorry,
address.
I'm from Hamilton, New Jersey.
Okay, very
I do
good.
apologize.
Thank you, ma'am.
But I did email all of you before I came down here with some information that I have here so that you would have it also. And I'm a little concerned about some things that have been happening, and you may or may not know that recently the Van M. College was issued a notice of violation by the Cumberland County DOH for illegal septic that has been going on for years. However, until New Jersey DEP stepped in, the county DOH had passed them on this illegal septic for years. And you, as the bodying leadership of this city, should be made aware of that. Now that the Van Am collies must excavate and clean up all the environment pollution that they've buried on their property. They must clean up all the piles that may have been accumulated during the winter when the ground was too frozen to dig those holes, and where the rain washes off the pollutants off the property down into the drain storms that's at the end of the property on the other side. This cleanup is more than just bagging up the waste and putting it out in the trash to be picked up. It must be done in a proper manner according to the New Jersey DEP. And I'd like to ask the city if the city is paying to pick up this hazardous waste by a commercial operation through the residential trash pickups. Do you know if that's happening? If it's going out with the residential trash?
I'm not aware of that.
Okay.
Anybody else?
No, I'm not.
Well, if they are, I highly recommend you, if you don't know, I highly recommend you look into it because Millville has an ordinance against that. And it's 61-28 hazardous waste. The other thing that's I would like to bring to your attention, if it's commercial hazardous waste, which it is, why should the tax dollars of the residents of Millville pay for commercial trash pickup unless they are doing that for every other business in this city? So that's a cost to the taxpayers. Okay. Now, some things that have come to pass, and I know we've all gone round robin with information and everything, and I sent you a spreadsheet that took all this information and just broke it down to facts and the results. And I hope you do take a time to look at that, and I hope you do enter it into the record. There are some things that are still not happening, and one of that is potable water. New Jersey Administrative Code 823A clearly states they must have animals must have potable water at all times. That means at 2 o'clock in the morning when it's freezing. That means during a snowstorm. That means at all times. And it's my understanding, both from the state and from my last conversation with Cumberland County, that they have not been able to resolve that issue yet. However, they were given a satisfactory, even though they're still working on this. And I want you to know that because I know you, like many people, believe they're satisfactory and that there's no problems there. But there are. The other thing is, as far as dogs and animals being allowed to acclimate outside 24/7, has to be a certificate for each individual dog. You just can't say the breed can, because one dog may be sickly, one dog may be too old, one dog may be too young. Okay? The vet has to issue a certificate for each individual dog saying this animal can acclimate outside.
What would something like that cost per dog?
I'm not a vet. I do apologize.
Okay.
I don't know, but
I was just asking.
yeah, the cost of the dog versus the cost that they sell the dogs for, which is about $3,000, give or take. I think, does it...
Ma'am, I'm not arguing. I'm listening
Okay,
to you, and,
okay.
and I'm grateful that you're
Well,
there.
the reason I say
providing
that
that
is because
information.
at one point...
Ma'am, so you know you have 2 minutes left on the mic.
Okay. And the reason I say that because at one point the ACO said to the Hilo officer, those dog houses, if they had to get new dog houses, they're very expensive. Okay, which do we care about, the animals or not? The other thing is, I don't know whether you're aware of it, but as of February 1st, ACOs can no longer go out by themselves on animal cruelty. They cannot issue citations. They have to, it either has to be the Hilo officer or the ACO accompanied by a policeman, because a police person is the only one who can issue the citation. And that's not happening in Millville. Okay, so I just want to let you know. And I'm certainly open to any questions anytime.
Can you give us your first and last name again, please? I missed it.
Sure, I'm Terry Pfeiffer from Companion Animal Advocates.
Thank you, Terry.
One
Yes.
other question. Are you forwarding that information to the police department?
Did I what?
I said, are you forwarding that information to the police department?
I've
That's-
had multiple conversations with your police department,
With
and
the
they
Hilo
refuse.
officer?
No, they refuse. They point blank refuse, and I've reported them to the Attorney General
Thank you.
for not doing their job, because they won't listen to, they say they know and that I should know. They're going to tell me how to police. That's not what I'm telling them. I'm telling them about the law. And, I called in one night at 2 o'clock in the morning because it was freezing out there, and they refused to do a welfare check, and they didn't do a welfare check until 6.5 hours later when it was now not freezing. So they're refusing to do what they need to do.
Thank you, Terry.
And I did send you all an email if you have any questions. As I said, in the spirit, I was hoping we would have a good communication tonight, and I think we have. If you have
Thank
any
you.
further questions, please feel free to use me as a resource.
Appreciate
Thank
that.
you.
One thing I would like also the commission to consider is maybe having an ordinance, and certainly we will work with you on that if you would consider it, banning no more kennels in Millville. Those that are here, and those that are here, I'd like to see you put a cap on it so that they're manageable, and that it doesn't get out of control, so that each animal we're assured it's okay. 823A is the minimal that by the state for the regulations for an animal.
Thank you, Terry.
And they did not meet the minimum.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Maybe we should table all the things in closed session except for one involving Jerry because it's so late. I don't know how you want to handle it.
Anyone else?
Well, there's just a bunch of things this year to rate this on. They could probably wait.
Seeing no one else, I now close the public portion part of this meeting. Can I get a
Well, let's
resolution, Madam Clerk?
All right. Because we're so short on time, would it be better to address maybe one of the items and to have the rest tabled?
Say it again. I didn't hear you.
Should we have? What would your recommendation?
Because there are a number of matters that are scheduled for closed session.
Yes.
I know Mr. Velasquez is here, and I think that was one that the board
as well as
wanted
Ms.
to give
Hamlin
priority to.
and
Does he need to go up to the mic?
No,
No,
for the closed session and table the other. So
Let's
I'm
go.
going to read it that way.
Let's
okay?
do it.
Because
Okay.
it's so late.
Okay, so this would be a resolution authorizing a closed session for the following one matter, and that would be for the potential lease of certain. Oh, I'm sorry, that's wrong. Where is it? It's not on here. I have the wrong one in front of me. This is the 2 North High Street lease agreement discussion item under contract negotiations.
So moved.
second.
Any comments? Roll call.
Commissioner Pepitone?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Parent?
Yes.
Commissioner Udalvis?
Yes.
Commissioner Cooper?
Yes.
Mayor Santiago?
Yes.
Okay,
So
motion-
that means the only matter we're going to address in closed session is the potential lease of 2 North High Street, and the other ones will be carried until a closed session at the next meeting.
Unfortunately, I know we have people here
Yeah.
for the closed session.
But it's
Yeah, you're
it's
here.
7:15, and the regular meeting is supposed to start at 7, so that's the problem.
We should be back, I don't know, 10 minutes? 10 minutes. Jerry, can you come to the back, please? Clay, I apologize.
Robin.